Lucy. I'm the artist behind Narwhal Carousel Co, and I thought I'd show you what I have going on in my studio this week. So today is February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. I finished up all my Easter stuff last week, and I'm getting started on my spring pieces because I wanted to release all of Easter first so the Easter stuff will get there by Easter. And then I'll do the spring stuff after because it doesn't super duper matter when that shows up to customers. So I'll show you what I've started so far on the spring stuff. So one of the first things I've started is just making a ton of armatures out of just wire and tin foil. And so they're for like ponies, dragons, cows, sheep and goats, things like that. And any of my animals that are standing need a little armature, so I made a ton of them just so I wouldn't have to stop in the middle of sculpting to make more. And then the other thing I have started is color mixing. So I've just recently realized just how long it takes me to mix colors, but it's seriously taken me like all of yesterday afternoon and the start of today just to mix colors. So it's kind of crazy that that's how long that took me, but it is setting me up to be able to start the animals in. I wish I could use the clay colors right out of the packet, but just like all of them are too dark for what I want. I always work with pastels, so this is more of a palette that I'm going for. Okay, I'm getting ready to start sculpting now for the new collection, and I don't know what it is, but like every time I start a new collection, I just find it such an process. I don't know if it's like because each collection sometimes takes me like 6 or more weeks to make, or just that when you're transitioning from like working on one set of ideas to another set of ideas, it can just like be a little daunting. But usually if I like get over the hump of the first couple of days of sculpting the collection, I feel a lot better. I just kind of have to start. I have colors mixed up, and so I'm gonna get started on hopefully making a few things. So that time lapse was of this little Jersey cow I just started. He's still super rough and he needs more work, but that is the first animal from this collection started. I think I'm gonna put like maybe this periwinkle blue color bow on him, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Right now I'm just trying to get some animals started because I feel like that tricks my brain into feeling like it's not as overwhelming to start the collection. On this little deer. Obviously he's still in really rough shape, but I thought I would give you a behind the scenes look at my setup for what reference I use while I'm sculpting each one of these. So on my desk I have this super old laptop, and basically all it can do is look up reference pictures, and even then sometimes it struggles, but I don't want to put like my nice newer MacBook on my clay area because it's messy and my fingers are messy, but I still need something to look up reference on. So what I do is I just type into Google Images whatever animal I'm making and just sort of have the images so I can like not be building the animal from my head. I often just don't even like look at a specific one. I just kind of am like, okay, what nose shape does it have? What eye shape does this animal have? And having like all the different animals on Google Images is super helpful. But then the other thing I look at is my own website. So this time I pulled up like the most recent deer I made. So just like looking at how I sculpted this specific animal in the past is super helpful because obviously the animals are super synthesized into my style. And I like to see exactly what I did last time, so I either can copy it or make little changes. So that way, looking at this one, I can sort of synthesize it into what do I want the new one to look like for the spring collection. And so I didn't look up reference images on Google Images or on my website for this little Jersey cow, because I've literally sculpted so many cows that I know exactly how to make them. But I don't make deer as often, so I did look up reference images for him and looked at the old pictures on my website just because I needed to make sure I was copying my old style and like making him look like a deer. Both of these right now are still in super, super rough shape. Like they get tons more refinement before they're actually done. But this is like the very starting stages of little animals for me. I still have a small amount of this brown color left, so I think I'm gonna try to make a chicken. I've done chicks before, but not chickens. And I was drawing chickens for stickers over the past couple of days, and I thought, geez, like chickens have definitely been requested as a clay animal. I sort of have some ideas jumbling around in my head for how I might sculpt the chicken, so I'm gonna try. Okay, this is where I'm at with the chicken so far. This is my first time ever making a chicken, and I just feel like she isn't 100 yet. I'm kind of like considering leaving off the little part on her head. Like I know most chickens have that, but I kind of feel like it's making her look off, or maybe it's the white feet that are making her look off, but I feel like a lot of brown chickens have the white feet, so I'm not really sure. I feel like I've talked about this before, but it is so much more difficult for me to sculpt an animal I've never sculpted before versus sculpt an animal I've already come up with a concept for. So that's one of the reasons I didn't record the sculpting of the chicken, is because I felt like it was just too much pressure to record something that I'm trying for the first time. I'm not sure if I'm 100% happy with her, but at the same time, like I'm never gonna come up with the chicken design I'm super happy with if I don't just start making a chicken at all, you know? Like that's what happens with every single animal I make. I start with one and maybe I'm not 100% on it. I think I maybe could do better, but it takes a few tries to get to it. But I'm not gonna squish her because she's too cute to squish, so at least she has that going for her. I'm gonna finish her because I might surprise myself and really like the design once I like paint her and stuff. But yeah, that is the update on the chicken. And then after making the deer, the cow, and the chicken, this is how much of the light brown color I have left. So I probably will put a little piece aside because sometimes I use just like a tiny little bit of the clay to like patch any mistakes in them later. So I need to have like that exact color mixed up. But I might try to like mix up a new batch of brown because I can't really make very much from what I have left. I only can make like one tiny little animal from this, and maybe even not even that, and still have leftover for patching up mistakes. So that's where we're at with the brown clay today. Welcome back to my studio. So today I've got my Heart Ghosty sweatshirt that I made around Halloween maybe 2 years ago, and by total coincidence I also have my Snoopy Halloween mug, which really none of that should come as a big surprise because I am one of those keep the spooky season spirit alive all year kind of people. What I'm working on today is more sculpting of the same spring animals I was working on yesterday. So I'll show you what I worked on last night after I turned the camera off, and then I'll do more of the same. One of the things about my sculpting days is that they often turn into like sculpting weeks. So sometimes I'll be like sculpting a collection for like 3 weeks because that is the longest part of the process for me. So it really is just a lot of sitting and sculpting to get collections started. I actually worked on these little itty bitty birds on Monday and Tuesday this week, and I designed them to be like freebies for my Easter collection. And these ones are chicks, but then I also made ducks. So these ones are supposed to be ducks. And then these ones are supposed to be bluebirds, and I think they're really cute. I will wipe them down with acetone to kind of get rid of the fingerprint texture and any of the dust. But yeah, they are kind of a new freebie design for me. I'd done the chicks before, but I'd never done the ducks or the bluebirds. And I think they're just like super funny and cute. Like each of them is shaped a tiny bit differently, and I have like a ton of them. I'll use these for my Easter collection and then maybe part of my spring collection going forward. I just think they're so like roly-poly and cute. I can't wait to start sending them out with orders. So what I mainly worked on for the rest of the night yesterday was this little donkey, and I was sculpting his head last night, and I hadn't put the little like mane on yet, and oh my gosh, I realized donkeys just look like horses with rabbit ears, at least when they're synthesized into my style. Like before I put his little mane on, I was so worried he was just gonna look like a horse rabbit, but I think once he has all the donkey colors on, he'll look way better. Okay, so I've been working on sculpts for a few hours at this point. I've started on some little birds, some robins and bluebirds. Birds used to be so hard for me, and now they're like some of my favorites. And it's because I've taken their shape and simplified them down to basically like little bird balls with little indentations for the wings. So they're very, very simple. And that actually I think works really well for birds in my style, and so I'm super happy with them. And I'll show you them. Keep in mind, they don't have any of their colors yet. They're just little birds with little kicky feet and beaks. So here are the birds. The ones that are more blue toned are going to be colored like bluebirds, and then the ones next to the deer that are more of a gray tone, they're going to be colored to be like robins. And I'll just use little chalk pastels to give them their colors later on. So the main animal I'm working on today are these Highland cows. These are my first ever Highland cows, but they've been on my like list to make for probably like 3 or 4 years. So I'm happy I finally started them. Just for my spring collection, they just kind of had to be a part of it. So with the cows, historically making fluffy animals that have a lot of fluff and hair and bulk to them that aren't just like super smooth like a little frog or something, have been hard for me to get the proportions and shapes right on. I do feel like over the 6 years that I've been sculpting for my shop, I've gotten better at making the fluffy animals. So like I used to just try to totally cover them in like hair texture, make a smooth animal and then paint it fully with hair texture, and I feel like I've been able to take a fluffy animal and make the fluff part of the shape of the sculpt has worked better for me in my style. So I'm sure next time I make a Highland cow, I'll have a better idea of it, but I am happy with the way they are right now. Obviously, I'll still like keep them on my desk and look at them until I bake them because I can make changes up until that point. But the way they are, they kind of have a little bit of hair texture sculpted in. Then they have a lot of like the big curly chunks of fluff on their head that are individual little pieces of clay. And I do like that because it sort of emphasizes that hair on their head, which is what I wanted to be like the focal piece of this particular animal. So I think I'm happy with that. Really, sculpting is all I have going on in my studio today. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and end this vlog here. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.